The cry in the pines. The high mountains of Montana were never quiet, though most men claimed they were. To the mountain man Jacob Hawthorne, every whistle of the wind, every snapping branch, every roll of stone down a slope was a voice. The land talked to him, and he had learned to listen. It was why he had lived long when most others had perished. That evening, as the red sun dropped behind the granite ridges, he heard a sound that did not belong to nature. A child's voice. Thin, broken, desperate. "Help us, please." Jacob set down the elk hide he had been stretching and rose, rifle in hand. Few dared trespass so deep in the Bitterroot Range, but desperation had a way of pushing people where they didn't belong. He followed the sound through a gully until he found a small boy, no more than 9, panting hard, his shirt torn and his face bloodied. The boy's eyes widened at the towering figure before him. Jacob was a fearsome sight, long black beard, buckskin coat patched with years of wear, a rifle as tall as the boy himself. Yet the child did not run. Instead, he collapsed to his knees. "Please," the boy sobbed, gripping Jacob's leg. "They're beating my mom, because she's Chinese. They say we don't belong. Please save her." Jacob's jaw tightened. He had heard such cruelty before, settlers who looked at the railroad workers from China as if they were less than men, women, or children. Many of those men had died building the rails, and those who survived faced jeers and violence. He had seen it too many times in the mining towns. But this was no mining town, this was his mountain, and no mob had the right to bring their hate here. "Where is she?" Jacob asked, voice low but sharp. The boy tugged his arm. "This way. Hurry." They scrambled over rocks, through pine thickets, until Jacob heard shouting. They broke through to a clearing, and what he saw made his blood turn hot. A group of 5 men surrounded a woman. She knelt on the ground, shielding a smaller child in her arms, her daughter, no older than 6. Her face was bruised, her black hair torn loose, her dress ripped at the seams. One of the men kicked her in the ribs, and she fell sideways, groaning. "Go back where you came from," one settler spat. "Ain't no place for your kind in these hills." Another raised a whip. The children screamed. Jacob's rifle thundered. The crack echoed through the valley, and a puff of dirt exploded inches from the man's boots. The settler froze. All eyes turned to the massive figure now striding into the clearing. Jacob leveled his rifle at the group. His eyes were steel. "Touch her again, and you'll be planting daisies before sunrise." The men hesitated. They were drunk, carrying pistols and knives, but none of them had the steady deadliness of a mountain hunter. Jacob Hawthorne had killed grizzlies with less thought than he was giving them now. One of the settlers spat. "Ain't your business, trapper. She's heathen trash, stealing work and food from good white folk." Jacob's voice was quiet, but it cut sharper than any blade. "She's a woman. A mother. That's all I see. And you're cowards for laying hands on her." The man with the whip sneered. "You think you can stand against 5 of us?" Jacob cocked the hammer. "Try me." The silence stretched. None of them dared test his aim. Finally, the settlers backed away, cursing under their breath. One spat in the dirt. "Ain't over, mountain man. You'll regret crossing us." Then they disappeared into the dark trees, leaving behind only their threats. Jacob lowered the rifle and knelt by the woman. She flinched, still trembling, until he spoke softly. "You're safe now. I ain't here to hurt you." Her eyes met his, dark pools brimming with both fear and dignity. Her lip bled, her cheek swollen, but she held herself upright. She whispered, voice shaking, "Thank you, thank you." The boy clutched Jacob's sleeve. "Will you protect us? Please. They'll come back." Jacob looked at the family, the bruised woman, the terrified children, the boy's desperate eyes. He had lived alone for 15 years, his cabin the only company he allowed. Yet something in him stirred, something he thought long buried. He thought of his own wife and child, lost to fever long ago. "Yes," Jacob said at last, his voice carrying the weight of a vow. "I'll keep you safe. No harm will touch you again. Not while I'm breathing." Home in the wilderness. Jacob led them to his cabin, a sturdy log home built against the side of a mountain creek. Inside, firelight cast warm shadows, and the smell of venison stew filled the air. The children clung to their mother, afraid of every creak of the timbers, but slowly, the safety of the cabin began to settle their nerves. The woman spoke little at first, her English broken. Jacob learned her name was Li Mei, and her children were Jean and Anya. Her husband had died working the railroads, crushed beneath a collapsed tunnel. She had tried to find work in the valley town, but the settlers had scorned her, claiming she brought disease and bad luck. With nowhere else to go, she wandered into the mountains, hoping to find a place to survive. Instead, she found hatred. Jacob listened, anger burning in his chest. "This land's hard enough without men turning on each other," he muttered. "You and your young uns don't deserve this." 4 days, they stayed with him. Jacob taught Jean how to split wood, while Anya giggled as she helped feed his hound dog Scraps. Li Mei tended the hearth, cooking rice she carried in a small pouch and seasoning Jacob's stew with herbs she gathered. Slowly, the cabin, once silent and empty, filled with laughter and warmth. But danger was never far. Twice, Jacob found boot tracks near his hunting traps. Once, he caught the smell of pipe smoke on the wind. The settlers hadn't forgotten. They were watching, waiting. One night, as snow fell heavy, Li Mei sat by the fire and whispered, "You saved us, but they will not stop. Why risk your life for us?" Jacob stared into the flames. Memories of his wife's pale face returned, the sound of his daughter's cough echoing in his mind. He swallowed hard. "Because I couldn't save mine," he said at last. "But I can save you." Tears filled her eyes. She touched his hand, trembling. Then, "We are family now." It was a simple sentence, but it sank deep into Jacob's soul. A family. The thing he had thought forever lost was being handed back to him, fragile and precious. The next day, the settlers came again, this time with rifles. The snow crunched under their boots as they approached the cabin, shouting for Jacob to come out. He stepped outside, rifle ready, standing tall against the storm. Behind him, Li Mei and the children huddled near the fire, their faces pale but determined. "You've made a mistake, mountain man," the leader growled. "That woman and her brats don't belong. Hand him over, and maybe we'll let you live." Jacob's voice was thunder. "You'll take them over my dead body. And I promise you, my dead body won't fall easy." The standoff stretched, snow swirling between them. Jacob's finger rested steady on the trigger. The settlers shifted nervously, realizing the truth. This man would fight to the last breath for the woman and her children. And maybe, just maybe, his courage was stronger than their hate. One by one, the settlers lowered their rifles. Their leader spat into the snow. "Ain't worth dying for. Let's go." They melted into the storm, their threat broken, for now. Jacob returned inside, heart pounding. Li Mei clasped his hand, whispering through tears, "You are our mountain. Strong. Unmoving. You saved us again." And for the first time in many years, Jacob felt something stir in his chest. Not just duty, not just protection, but hope. The mountains had given him solitude. Now, they had given him a family.